Welcome to episode 3 of Ching and Wagner Saw Some Movies. I'm Jeff Ching.
And I'm Warren Wagner.
This week we'll be reviewing Gravity, Captain Phillips, Thor: The Dark World, and Enough Said, which is James Gandolfini's last movie.
And for our video pick, we'll be picking our favorite film that James Gandolfini was in.
Alright, so I think we're ready. I got my loaded baked potato chips. As you can see, I got my weed, my lighters, the grinder, rolling kit, and the Tetris lamp. You ready to get fucked up?
Let's do it.
Do you copy? Houston, do you copy?
I'm going to try to get through this review the best I can. I got 2 fucking hit. Okay, so it's been a while since Gravity has come out. I'm sure you've heard all the hype. Many praising it as one of the best sci-fi movies in a long time, saying it's the best 3D. So, yeah, you know, we finally saw it in 3D, and it was a good movie. I don't think it was phenomenal like all the critics said. The 3D was very good. Yes, it felt immersive. The first half hour of the movie is very intense, and like when Sandra Bullock is lost in space, like you can feel her sense of panic and helplessness. Oh, sorry, hopelessness, or maybe both. I don't know. Both words apply. Yeah, like the 3D was done very well, but I felt like just the movie lost steam in the second half. It just went from really shitty situation to really shitty situation that it lost its intensity and excitement in the second half. And I don't know, the movie started off feeling so fresh and different, and I was totally into it. But in the second half, it starts hitting all the Hollywood cliches you expect. And then when the movie becomes predictable is when I sort of liked it a little bit less. So I think it's a good movie. I say 3.5 stars. And I don't know if I'm going to see it again, but I am not as blown away as a lot of people are. Yeah, what do you think?
I think I liked it more than you. I'm not a big fan of 3D usually, and I really liked 3D here because it's not really. A lot of 3D I find it's very like jump out at you and like very gimmicky. Where this is just it was very immersive, and I felt like I was in space. A lot of the shots are from Sandra Bullock's point of view, so it really like the 3D works in that way because it's like point of view shots in 3D in space.
Yeah,
it really works. And yeah, like the first 40 minutes are amazing. Like the first 20, it's just them working out in space with Clooney, another astronaut, and Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
And it's just Clooney talking to Ed Harris, who plays Houston, over the radio. And it's just a long 20-minute scene of them just doing their job.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like
that part is great. I
was
agree.
so into the film, and I was like, this is gonna be one of the best films, like of the year. And then, yeah, like after 40 minutes, it becomes more of a generic survival tale.
Yeah.
For me, I'm gonna give it 4 stars because I think I'm not a big fan of Sandra Bullock, but I think that she did a very good job here in her stuff alone, and the stuff with George Clooney is just amazing. Like, George Clooney steals the show.
Yeah.
As always, he's amazing in it. He's such a great character. He's likable. His dialogue with Houston is amazing. Like
that's why I'm not totally sold on the people who say Sandra Bullock should win the Oscar for Best Actress, because it is very noticeable when George Clooney is gone from the movie. It sinks quite a bit when he's out of the picture.
I don't know if that's exactly Sandra Bullock's fault.
But still,
yeah. I mean, it is noticeable, yes, but
George Clooney maybe steals the show when they're in scenes together.
He's better than Sandra Bullock by far. But I still say 4 stars because especially for a mainstream film, it's a lot better than the other shit that has come out this year.
I'll agree, better than a lot of mainstream stuff, but I can think of a lot of indies I like better than this one.
Yeah.
I wish they had more confidence and they could have broken the rules a little bit more and not given the ending that everyone expects.
There was a point where I thought it was gonna be like I was really getting blown away. This is an amazing.
The character development was really good at first. Like I really enjoyed the backstory. It had some great dramatic moments, but then later in the movie, the dramatic moments get pretty corny.
Yeah, even though I know what you're talking about, I liked that scene a lot, but it is kind of corny too.
Though I will say, tears falling to the camera in 3D, that was wicked.
Yeah, there's a shot where the tear is like in 3D, everything else is out of focus, and just the tear is in focus. I was blown away by that shot.
Sandra Bullock cries at you in 3D. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, that was wicked.
We stay locked down until help arrives. No one comes out until you hear the non-duress password from me, which is supper time. Jesus. If the pirates find you, remember, you know the ship, they don't. Make them feel like they're in charge, but keep them away from the important things like the generator and the engine controls.
Our next film was Captain Phillips. Tom Hanks pirate movie. That's all I'm going to say about it. I really liked it a lot.
I think you should be eating more pretentious food. Like, the potato chips don't really go with your douchey professor look.
I'm drinking beer with a fucking head.
You should be eating, like, caviar.
Or cum. So I don't do research on the films before I see them now. Since I've started this web series, I don't look into movies at all. So I didn't look into Captain Phillips, which apparently is based on a true story. So I didn't know the outcome. Mm-hmm. So it was very intense for me. But yeah, I went into this blind. I just saw the trailer and I thought it was going to be more of a generic pirates take over the ship and it becomes a very like the crew fights back, and I thought it was gonna be just a very violent and lame film. But I was very surprised. Like, I mean, the pirates don't come onto the ship till like 40 minutes in or something like that. It's like first you just see the very cool procedures of what the ship has, like a ship has to do if there are pirates trying to board. Like you never think of like having fire hoses and things like that. Like, it was really fascinating watching that. But then like. The film is really intense, but it's not because of violence, it's because of the threat of violence. The film is not very violent. It's just like you never know when something's going to happen because these people, like the pirates, seem very dangerous. And so you're just like frightened for the crew and Tom Hanks' character. So I was just like, I was really on the edge of my seat the whole time. I thought this was one of the best performances Tom Hanks has done in years. So yeah, I give it 4 stars. I think it was just really great. I think Tom Hanks will probably be nominated for an Oscar. Barkhad Abdi, he played the Captain Pirate. He was really great. He's never acted before besides this movie, and I was just like, his performance was amazing. You would think that he'd been acting for years. Like, he's really good, and he's very intimidating. I guess my biggest, what I would have liked to see is to show more of like the pirates' point of view beforehand.
I agree with that.
To show that, yeah, like, the film is pretty black and white right now, like good and evil. It'd be nice to see a little more gray, like to show these people might have families. They're doing this for a reason. Like that's the biggest complaint that I have with the film, is to see like if we could show more, like humanize the bad guys, because it's so easy to make them bad guys.
I agree.
It would be nice to show them a little more.
Yeah. Because otherwise it just comes off like another like America fuck yeah movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say once again, just like with Gravity, I like this a little bit less than you did. The difference was I was familiar with Captain Phillips, so I knew the outcome of.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the thing with based on true story movies. They always have to deal with the difficulty that the audience knows what's going to happen due to the fact that it was news. So, okay, so it wasn't news to you. It was, I mean, yeah. So I already knew the outcome. Your microphone fell off.
I know.
So I knew the outcome. So it's a challenge to keep the audiences in suspense when they know how it's going to end. So this movie, I love the first 40 minutes, once again, like Gravity. All the procedural stuff when the Somali pirates are trying to get onto the boat, and then Tom Hanks steering the ship away. That scene was really intense.
Yeah.
Then the Somali pirates get on the boat, and I enjoyed like the mind games they played.
Yeah, that was like, it was funny and
Yeah.
intense. Like, just the crew kind of like passively fucking with the pirates.
Yeah, I
and-
agree. That stuff was great. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But once Tom Hanks gets kidnapped and then brought into the lifeboat with the pirates, that's for me is when the movie just drops. And we talked about this, it was almost distracting how easily the Navy kept tricking the Somali pirates. Like when it's very obvious, like Tom Hanks being like, I'm in seat 15. Like why would the pirates not be suspicious that they're
Yeah.
up to something? Or, hey, Tom Hanks, wear this bright yellow t-shirt. Like, come on. Like, they seriously weren't like, hey, something's going on. They're playing games here. You understand English. You know what they're saying. Why aren't
Yeah.
you thinking in your heads? Why are they doing this? Why are they giving Tom Hanks a bright yellow t-shirt, you know?
I think it's a constant funny, like the main guy, Bakat Abdi, he keeps saying no games.
Yeah.
And then throughout the entire movie, it's just constant one game after another they do to fuck with these pirates. And they never realize what's going on. So it's very entertaining watching it.
And we talked about it. Tom Hanks might get an Oscar nomination for one scene close to the end of the movie.
Yeah, we can't talk
Yeah.
about the scene, but it's a scene that I haven't really seen or any film really do ever. It blew me away. Like, there were tears in my eyes, and I was really in shock watching it. It was so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Bakat Abdi, I keep mentioning his name because he's awesome, but the Captain Pirate, he should get an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor because he was just amazing in it. Like, he was so intimidating, and he was great.
Jane,
Where were you?
where were you? Heimdall cannot see you.
I was right here where you left me. I was waiting, and then I was crying, and then I went out looking for you. You said you were coming back.
I know, but the Bifrost was destroyed. The 9 realms erupted into chaos. Wars were raging, marauders were pillaging. I had to put an end to the slaughter.
As excuses go, it's not terrible.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Ching and Wagner Saw Some Movies.
It wasn't a commercial break. You fucking idiot.
Whatever. Who cares? Once again, look for asshole on your own time.
Ooh, this
Don't
is a
do
long.
it
This is a long
during
text
the-
message.
Someone really wants it up the ass from you.
Yeah.
Is he going into detail? He wants you to hum the national anthem into his ass.
Yeah, and he wants me to call him Jeff Ching.
That's disgusting.
Go
Okay,
on.
so we're reviewing Thor 2. I think it's called Thor: The Dark World. I can't remember, and I didn't write it on my notes either. So I hope it's Thor: The Dark World. Otherwise, I look like a jackass right now.
I think that's the least of your worries, pal.
So this is the sequel to Thor, and this movie takes place after the Avengers. After it took all the Avengers just to take out Thor's jackass brother, Loki. This is now Loki is now in their jail, and everyone keeps telling him what a shitty person he is. But there's a new villain. This new villain is after some red matter type of thing, where if he gets his hands on it, he can destroy the universe.
He's an elf. Don't forget to
Yeah,
mention
he's an evil elf.
For you Lord of the Rings fans out there.
And so Natalie Portman on Earth accidentally comes in contact with this really terrible red matter that can ruin the universe. And then, yeah, Thor has to make sure that he doesn't get his hands on the red matter. I hope this doesn't come off as a sarcastic review because I actually liked the movie. I'm gonna say 3.5 stars. Yes, the movie's story is, yeah, it's kind of fun to make fun of, but the movie doesn't take itself seriously. Like the movie knows that it's goofy, and the movie has a lot of fun, and yeah, there's a lot of humor to it. The movie doesn't take itself seriously, and that's what I enjoyed about it. And yeah, so I say 3.5 stars for me.
I give it half a star.
Of course.
It's fucking terrible.
Of course, like a big budget superhero movie, like really, like Professor Bowtie is gonna like Thor. I guess I'm not surprised by your review.
Okay, so I haven't seen Thor 1. I never saw the first one. I saw the Avengers and I hated it.
Of course, because, you know.
Because I'm intelligent and charming and sexy. Yeah, you're saying the film didn't take itself seriously, but there were enough points where the film was taking itself seriously that I was just frustrated. Like
there was only one attempt at drama.
No,
and that was it.
no.
And even that part, they didn't make it too heavy-handed. They cut to the funeral and then they moved on with the plot. Like,
every scene with Anthony Hopkins was trying to be serious.
okay, his acting was pretty hammy.
Every scene with Loki was trying to be serious. In the prison, when Loki and Thor talked to each other, that was trying to be dramatic, and it was just garbage.
Well, yeah, because he betrayed Thor. You have to. It's understandable why
Yeah,
Thor's
but it
fucking
didn't
pissed
work.
off at
It
his
was
brother.
fucking elves. Like, oh, the big threat is elves. Like this.
Well, yeah, if the elf grabs this red matter, he'll fuck up the universe. They have to do something.
It was a terrible fucking movie. It's just like, it's the ultimate popcorn flick, and
But it's a fun popcorn flick. That's the thing. You have
it's
to
just
go into the movie wanting to have a good time. And this movie had some pretty wicked action scenes, and the red matter stuff is really cool. I wish I was high watching
I
that.
walked out of this movie and I had to go get an HIV test because I was worried that I got AIDS from watching this horrible
That doesn't
film.
even make any fucking sense at all.
No, if you
That
were,
is a terrible
it was
analogy.
fucking
Or
terrible.
metaphor or whatever.
You don't even. Were you stoned when you went to do it?
I was not
Yeah.
stoned. I was sober.
That
wish...
actually makes me worried about your mental health. If you went into this sober, you're like, oh, it's a good film. I'm worried about you now, Justin.
I went into the movie wanting to have a good time, and I had a good time.
I went into this movie dreading it and being just resentful that you were dragging me to it.
Because you just don't want to go to a movie where you actually have fun.
Okay.
You want all your movies to be about people dying of cancer.
We've reviewed 3 movies that are mainstream films tonight, and 2 of them I rated higher than you. Captain Phillips and Gravity are both mainstream films that I gave higher reviews than you.
They're kind of art house mainstream movies.
Okay, but the only film you're giving a higher review than me is fucking Thor 2: The Dark World. I think you need to, instead of like saying that I'm a pretentious prick, you need to look at yourself and think maybe I have Down syndrome. Because that's really the only outcome I can see here.
And like the 80% of the critics at Rotten Tomatoes all have Down syndrome as well.
I guess so. It's an epidemic.
I think you'll be getting a lot of hate from Marvel fans pretty soon. They'll all be telling you to die in a fire.
Well,
or
the
something
feeling
like that.
the feeling is mutual, so they can go fuck themselves.
We should all just put a sign on our necks and write down what's wrong with us. Get it all out there.
Oh, that's a good idea. What would your sign say?
I don't know. I'm a slob. I have ear hair.
You know there are things you can do to get rid of ear hair.
Researched, taken care of.
Okay, our next film is Enough Said, starring Julie Louis-Dreyfus and James Gandolfini. It's James Gandolfini's last performance before he died. I blame Thor 2 for his death. Yeah, it's Julie Louis-Dreyfus starts dating James Gandolfini. She becomes friends with Catherine Keener, and she slowly finds out that they're ex-husband and wife. But she's hearing all these horror stories from Catherine Keener about her ex-husband. So it's kind of like she's getting a preview of what this guy is. So she continues it, and that's like the main storyline of Enough Said, I guess. This is one of the best films I've seen in a very long time. There's so many things I liked about it. The chemistry between all the actors is perfect. I couldn't have asked for a better last film from an actor like James Gandolfini, who's one of my favorites. And I think it's just like, for romantic comedies, especially romantic comedies when they have people who are 40 or over, usually they're acting like children, and that's where the comedy comes from. But these films, like this film, they act their age, and it's a very mature comedy. It's about adults, and I don't think we see enough films about adults nowadays, especially when it comes to comedy. It's just like a very mature film about relationships, but it's funny as hell, and it's just, I'd say it's 4.5 for me. I haven't seen Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She's a great comedic actress. She's never had a chance to do dramatic stuff. Thought she was great in this. James Gandolfini is amazing in his role. Like, he's just hilarious. He feels so real. So yeah, 4.5 stars. And this is one of the best films I'm going to see this year. It's great.
Oh, all right then.
And let me preface this by saying, Jeff Ching and I didn't see this movie together, and so I promised him that if I didn't like what he was saying, I would punch him in the arm as hard as I could if I was offended by him. So, go ahead.
If you have to take your anger out overrating the movie quite a bit, I'm going to say 3 stars for me.
Okay.
What the audience needs to know is that Warren has a massive hard-on for mediocre indie films. It's kind of like how I might seem to have a hard-on for trippy movies. Warren has a hard-on for mediocre indie films that are not that special.
Can I see your arm there for a second?
Sure.
Okay.
You punch like a hipster. But anyways, I hope that made you feel better about overly rating this movie.
It makes up for James Gandolfini's death.
Okay, James Gandolfini is really good. And yes, I agree with the critics that say that it's nice to see this guy who's been ruthless in so many movies and like mostly The Sopranos to like play such a low-key, like tender role.
Yeah,
And,
he's really like, you just like him so much,
yeah.
and
he's a frail person.
Yeah,
in
he
this
doesn't
movie.
have a mean moment in the film.
Yeah.
He's just like this really fragile guy who's had his heart broken, and it's just like you feel bad for him because what Julie Louis-Dreyfus is doing is kind of wrong, and you just kind of feel bad for him.
Sure. Okay, I don't completely get this 4.5 star rating. To me, it was a pretty generic romantic comedy. Like, you knew everything it just hit every single plot point necessary for the romantic comedy. And then when it gets to the part where the characters are supposed to end up together at the end, because it happens in every other romantic comedy, to me, I really wasn't rooting for them to fall in love at the end.
For me, it's not about the plot points. Yes, it follows probably the standard plot point procedure of a romantic comedy, but it's more about the characters, and like they're all very mature adults.
The first half hour of the movie was very good. I thought Louis-Dreyfus and James Gandolfini had really good chemistry. Like they were very funny together. But once the big incident happens where she learns that like she's massaging Catherine Keener, and then Catherine Keener keeps like complaining about her ex-husband, and it turns out it's Gandolfini.
Yeah.
So once that plot point gets introduced, the movie's just not the same. I just found the movie got very repetitive. Julia just became really unlikable. She stretched it out for such a long time, but it almost became like a sitcom.
I don't know, it's just like, yes, it's a pretty, the idea and the premise is very generic romantic comedy.
Everything about the movie is generic.
But it's not about that. It's about the performances and the characters. Like, every single character is so fascinating. Like, even the side characters, like Toni Collette and her husband.
I don't know. It's nothing in this movie I haven't seen done better in other indie films.
I disagree so
It's-
much. And
Since
also,
it was
just like,
very
how often do you have a romantic comedy? You have three of the best working actresses right now: Toni Collette, Catherine Keener, and Julie Louis-Dreyfus, and you have James Gandolfini on top of that. Like,
I don't know. I think Catherine Keener is a good actress, but I almost think she gets too much credit.
no, I think her
She
talent,
was all right in this movie.
her talent. She always just jumps into roles, and it's never flashy. It's never like, hey, look, it's Catherine Keener. She's always just amazing and stuff because
She's fine. She's not amazing. I don't know. It's just like you must love Catherine Keener to show how much you're into the indie films.
I would fuck the shit out of Catherine Keener.
Well, that doesn't surprise me at all.
I would let her fuck me. I would let her put on a dildo and fuck the shit out of me. That's how much I like
So
Catherine
that'll be
Keener.
the one time you'll be a bottom.
Yeah, I would let Catherine Keener fuck the shit out of me.
But that doesn't change the fact that this movie was just mediocre.
Can I punch your
Kind
arm
of-
again?
Sure.
Okay.
It's kind of like when you thought the way down was like
The way back.
way back.
Yeah.
That movie wasn't that good either.
You're
Like once again, very generic. You still punch like a hipster.
Okay, so now we're doing our video picks for the week. The video pick is going to be our favorite film that James Gandolfini was in. So my favorite is The Mexican. It's Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts and James Gandolfini. And James Gandolfini is amazing in it. I think it's one of the best gay roles that I've seen in mainstream film. I think it was out in the early 2000s, but James Gandolfini plays a gay hitman who has to kidnap Julia Roberts, and then they become friends, and he becomes kind of like her gay best friend. And just his scenes with her steal the film. The rest of the film isn't even that good. It's just like the Julia Roberts, James Gandolfini scenes really steal the show. And he just comes off as like a very sensitive, wise man about relationships who can also be very brutal when he needs to be because of his work. And, yeah. So, yeah, I think James Gandolfini is just amazing. That's my favorite role of his.
Okay, so interestingly, my pick has both James Gandolfini and Catherine Keener in its cast. And Catherine Keener was better in this movie than I'm going to make as my pick for a favorite Gandolfini movie, and that is Where the Wild Things Are. The movie is just way better than I ever expected it to be. It was such a mature look at childhood, and like each of the wild things were like different representations of like of the kid's psyche. And then so James Gandolfini plays Carol. He's probably like the movie starts off by showing like the kid and how destructive he is at home. Like he can be a really sweet kid, but he has such a short fuse, and like his mom is really struggling to keep the family together, and he's giving his mom a hard time. So when he finally escapes into this world with the wild things, and he's at the head, and he's trying to like be the head of the family, he learns how difficult it is. And each of the wild things is a different psychological aspect of him. And Carol was the most fascinating. He was like very creative, and he just wanted and needed love, but he could snap when he doesn't get his way. Like he's also like Max's destructive side. It's just the movie is just reminds me of childhood. It's such a good depiction of childhood. So that's my pick for best Gandolfini movie. Butt Pirate.